Cervantes wrote Don Quixote at a time when the concept of free speech did not exist. In fact, he had to submit his manuscript to the king's censorship authority for it to be approved for publication. A cutting critique of the Spanish crown could cost someone their life, let alone their livelihood. And yet, the Quixote is full of critiques and points out in many places the inequities that existed in 17th century Spain. So, how did Cervantes expose the wrongs of the rulers without exposing his neck to risk? Simple. He couched his critiques in the mouth of the crazy Don Quixote. For although his mind was questionable, his morals were always in the right place. And through the disarming idealism of the so called madman, Cervantes was able to expose the harmful inconsistencies of the so called wise men. One of the most powerful critiques comes near the end when a duke and duchess offer to Sancho his long desired island to govern. And it's all an elaborate hoax, of course, but to Don Quixote, it's real. And he pulls Sancho aside and gives him this heartfelt charge to be a good governor. And he says to him, I'm paraphrasing a bit, it is better to rule by virtue than by birthright. For nobility is not a matter of belonging to the right kind of family, but of becoming the right kind of man. And don't play fast and loose with the law, like those who take more pride in being clever than in being just. Let the tears of the poor have more influence over you than the arguments of the wealthy. And while you must be impartial, don't be unfeeling, for the reputation of a harsh judge isn't better than that of a compassionate one. If you happen to tip the scales of justice, let it not be with the weight of a bribe, but of mercy. If a beautiful woman comes to you to plead for justice, give more heed to the substance of her case than to the pleasantness of her face. And always consider that the culprit that falls under your jurisdiction is not that much different than you, and you might have acted just the same if it was you in his circumstances. If you follow these precepts, Sancho, your days will be long, your fame eternal, your rewards overflowing, and your joy indescribable. And although these words were inspired under false pretenses, they very truly describe the kind of ruler we all desire. It's very easy to imagine the authorities being both rebuked and challenged by the words of this man who was crazy enough to believe that a better world with a better government was possible. And it seems we could all use a dose of Don Quixote's craziness right now.